What's going on, everyone? So, according to Christian Clark of NewOrleans.com, multiple sources said Ingram will wait until next summer before engaging in extension talks with the franchise that acquired him in the Anthony Davis trade 4 years ago. Followed up by saying Clark also noted there is no anxiety within the Pelicans organization about waiting until next summer to engage in contract discussions with Ingram. That is because both sides understand that Ingram can significantly increase his future earning potential with a stellar 2023-2024 season. If Ingram makes an All-NBA team in the upcoming season, he will become Supermax eligible. That means he could sign a 5-year extension, that average annual value of which would start at 35% of the salary cap. So Brandon Ingram, just for contract purposes, he currently this season is making $33 million, about just under $34 million, and then next year that jumps up to $36 million, and then in 2025-2026 offseason, he's an unrestricted free agent. Now, Brandon Ingram, currently, if he waits to sign an extension into next year, which would be the final year of his contract, if he makes an All-NBA team, then he'd qualify for a Supermax. We saw that with like Jaylen Brown. You see a lot of these guys kind of want to wait and see rather than like, hey, let's jump the gun, right? Obviously, you want to capitalize and gain as much money as possible. And Brandon Ingram, I mean, personally, I don't think he's going to make an All-NBA team, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, he is a 25, 5, and 6 guy, right? Like last year, for example, he averaged 24.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists while shooting 48.4%. He's still only 26 years old. He has the talent and he has the potential, right? But what do the Pelicans do, right? There are already talks about the Pelicans looking to move Brandon Ingram and potentially trading Brandon Ingram. We heard that this offseason. Even Brandon Ingram himself addressed those rumors and basically was just like, it is what it is type thing. And if he doesn't have this like spectacular season this year, do the Pelicans just say, let's unload Brandon Ingram, right? Because when Zion, Ingram, and McCollum were all healthy, the Pelicans were the number 1 seed. They had like the best metrics and the best rating by far in the league when everyone was doing well. Granted, you didn't get this huge sample size, right? Like we've seen teams have just these great stretches, right? For example, Utah. Utah was even the 1 seed at one point and had some great just stretches where they just looked like they were the best team in the league. And then reality started settling in and things kind of got back to normal. And then all of a sudden, they missed the play-in entirely. Now, some of that was, they wanted to tank for draft position and stuff. But some of it was also teams realized like, okay, they're really not that good. And averages start playing out and stuff like that. But two of the big things is obviously injuries, right? Brandon Ingram has not been a model of health lately. And Zion, right? Can Zion play a full game or even a majority of a season, right? That becomes a real problem. I mean, on the surface, Brandon Ingram, 6'9", 7'3" wingspan, can do a little bit of everything, can make plays, can create, can score, can shoot from pretty much anywhere on the court. This is a guy that has just so much promise and upside. But he, again, can't string together full seasons. Last year, he played 45 games. The year before that, he played 55 games. The most he has ever played in a season was his rookie year with the Lakers, in which he played 79 games. Since then, it's been 59, 52, 62, 61, 55, and 45. That is a problem, right? Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the basketball court? But if things don't work out, where does he go? Where does he land, right? Now, there are a lot of concerns, again, about injury. What does his trade value look like? How do things kind of shape up for him, especially if he doesn't qualify for the Supermax? So now he's he's still going to get paid. Don't get me wrong. He'll still get 40 plus million a year, but he won't be in that like 50 to 60 million range like you're seeing all these players get. He'll lose basically, 100 million over the course of his contract if he doesn't make it. And one of the big things is, do the Lakers make a play for him? Right? There have been a lot of talks about this, right? Primarily because Austin Reeves, him and Team USA, Brandon Ingram playing for Team USA. Austin Reeves was recruiting, right? He didn't point blank say, yeah, I'm recruiting, but he's just kind of hint, wink, wink. He said something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, of like, I just tell people the weather's nice or whatever, right? Like, okay, buddy, right? And when you look at all of the players that were on Team USA that could potentially make a move to the Lakers, Brandon Ingram is one of the closest, right? Like him and like Triple J are like the two guys that their contracts are due pretty soon. Triple J, you imagine the Grizzlies are going to end up maxing him out to the top of the top, whatever he can qualify for. But Brandon Ingram, again, he's a real question mark. And the issue is two things, at least in my opinion. One is the obvious one that I was just talking about, injuries, right? Do you really want to bring Brandon Ingram in, have to pay him max money, and he only plays 50 games a year, right? Like, that might be fine as long as LeBron's around, right? Because you'd have Ingram, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. But what happens when LeBron leaves? And the idea is Brandon Ingram and Anthony Davis are your two stars again, right? Those are your two guys that are carrying the workload. I mean, granted, you'd have Austin Reeves plus whomever else you have on the roster, but you're going to really be counting on Brandon Ingram, and you're going to want to pay him max money, right? Or you're going to have to pay him max money, right? And if you can get him for the right trade next year, the right package next year, whatever, or wait till free agency and then try to entice him in free agency, personally, that's what I would do, right? You have this year, you're not going to trade for Brandon Ingram this year, right? But next year, let's say things don't work out, things don't go that way. And even if he does get traded, right? Like, it's not like there's no urgency for you, right? Because two things either happen. Either the Lakers are really good this year, like we all believe they will, and they potentially, let's say, win the NBA championship, which they're very capable of doing this year, right? Then you have next year where you're probably running it all back, maybe making a small tweak here and there, and now you're going for LeBron's number 6, you're going for Lakers number 19, and that's LeBron's final year of that contract, right? So let's say you don't go back to back. That's fine. Right? LeBron, he figures out what he's going to do. Is he going to do another 1+1? Or is he going to go play with his son? Right? Is he going to retire? What ends up happening with him? Well, you do need a replacement. Right? Brandon Ingram would make sense for that replacement. But the injury thing is a big issue for me. The second thing is if LeBron does want to stay, right? Like, let's say we win the chip this year. And again, let's say we don't win the chip next year, but let's say we lose in the conference finals, right? In like a tough 6 or 7 where LeBron's like, damn, we're right there. Go get Brandon Ingram, let's go, right? Like, he could be the difference maker. Yes, that may be the case, but Brandon Ingram struggled mightily with Team USA. I mean, he was literally one of their worst players in every metric. He was their third worst rating player. Austin Reeves was number 1, by the way. Just want to plug that in there. But Brandon Ingram was literally the third worst. And that is a huge problem if he's going to be on a roster with Austin Reeves, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Because at best, Ingram is probably the third option, maybe the second option. Right? Like, if LeBron is kind of more willing to let him take over and LeBron's just kind of coasting, maybe he's the second option. Right? At worst, he's the fourth option or third option, right? And can he fit in that scope? Because he's never had to be that, right? He's always kind of been the number 1 option. When LeBron came, he was kind of the number 2 a little bit. And then he went to the Pelicans where he's the number 1 option again. And then Zion's came, and now there's that conflict. But he doesn't really have to worry about being number 2 option with Zion because Zion never plays. So he's kind of always been the guy. Right? And if he comes to Lakers, he's never going to be number 1. He's always going to be number 2 because of Anthony Davis. So you're going to have Anthony Davis, you're going to have Brandon Ingram, which I do think healthy, that is a great pairing. Right? That is a very good pairing. And especially with Austin Reeves, hopefully Max Christie by that point is ready to take that jump, take that leap. Right? We could have a starting 5 of, like, say, Reeves, Christie, Ingram, Rui, and Anthony Davis. That's a really good starting 5. In my opinion, that's better than the Pelicans starting 5 now. So you have the capability of being a real legit contender with Brandon Ingram. And you have the capability of him fitting in rather seamlessly, right? Even if LeBron is still on the roster, you could go Ingram, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, and you're still good. And then still have, Reeves and Christie backcourt. Or if you have D'Lo still, like D'Lo, whoever, right? Whoever the best guy is at the point in two. So you'd be in great shape. You'd have that other star. But can Brandon Ingram kind of fit in with this roster? That's a real question, right? Is he going to be willing to do that? And we've already seen him kind of have issues when Zion is playing of being kind of the second guy when Zion's there, right? There have been the complaints. There's been the concerns. Now, granted, is it because he's on the Pelicans and they haven't really done anything since he's been there and, the frustration's just piling on, right? Or is it the fact that, he just doesn't want to be a second option or he doesn't want to be a third option or something like that? Because if that's the case, then he probably goes to a team like, I don't know, like the Knicks or something like that, where he can kind of be the one option, and then like Jalen Brunson can kind of be the number two, right? They could do something like that. But look, I don't hate the idea of Brandon Ingram returning to the Lakers. Personally, I wouldn't trade for him because you're going to have to give up assets, things like that. My logic is like, if Ingram wants to come to the Lakers, you'll have the salary space to go sign Ingram because you'll have D'Lo off the books and you'll have LeBron off the books when Ingram is a free agent, right? If some team trades for him and he ends up signing long-term with them, then so be it. It is what it is. Like, I don't think Brandon Ingram is that good, that impactful, that he's the big difference maker, right? I would rather wait for Giannis, right? And even if we miss out, it's like, all right, well, at least you tried. Like, rather than waiting for Ingram or going and trading for Ingram or something. Like, I'm not. If the Lakers were to land Ingram, I wouldn't hate it. I would have my reservations. I would have my concerns, the ones that I presented in this video, but I wouldn't hate the idea. It's interesting. And it's worth the talk because, again, there's been this conversation with him potentially being moved this year. There's been talks about, him being unhappy in New Orleans. And there have been talks with maybe a Laker reunion potentially happening. And then on top of that, on top of all of that, you have Austin Reeves, who's probably in Ingram's ears, probably in Ant-Man's ears, in Triple J's ear, who's in, Tyrese Halliburton's, all these guys' ears, going, hey, man, LeBron's got 2 years left. Just saying, right? Your contracts line up perfectly. The weather's nice, right? And boom, now you got these guys. So, I don't know. I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know however you feel, whatever you think. I'd love to hear it down in the comment section below. Think the Lakers should sign him? Do you think the Lakers should trade for him? Go get him now if you can, or next year if you can. That way you have him locked up and then you can be the one to give him the extension. Or do you think, no, wait for D'Lo, wait for LeBron, wait for all the money to come off the books, go sign Ingram? Or are you on the line where it's keep Ingram as far away as possible? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.